And so letting go of resentment, because holding on to a resentment, because people are like, well, I don't want to they don't deserve it. Well, you're right. But holding on to a resentment is like eating poison and expecting the other person to die. It only hurts you. You're not letting go of resentment for them. You're letting go of it for you. And so
this episode is sponsored by Lead with Confidence. Lead with Confidence empowers leaders and businesses alike with a 4-pillar approach to creating sustainable success in your organization. Visit the podcast website for more information. Now, on to our episode with today's guest.
Welcome to the Next Interview Show podcast. I'm Doland White, as the announcer mentioned, as we were coming through the door into the podcast, and I'm blessed. I get to have some amazing conversations with wonderful guests today. And today my guest is Jim Huntzicker. And Jim, thank you for taking time. Just I start every podcast and end every podcast with gratitude. And
that's the way I start my day. Thank you for having me. I mean, if you don't have a gratitude journal or a gratitude practice, I highly recommend starting it. It will change your life.
Oh my! You know what, gratitude? It's funny. We could do like the next half hour just on what gratitude does for you.
It's everything in your life. If you have problems in your life, you're not grateful for what you have. Become grateful for what you have. It will change your life, no matter what it is, what you have. As long as you're grateful for what you have, everything else will become easy.
Oh, fantastic! That's awesome. That's such a good start, man. It's such a great start. So, Jim, you as we're coming in, listeners, Jim has a book. What is prompting this conversation, and particularly, it's right over his right shoulder, right there, and I've got it right here. I'll show it to you later on my Kindle. But the book is called Mindset Breakthrough: Where Neuroscience Meets Self-Mastery. But the first thing, I spent a lot of time talking about mindset. And so I'm really looking forward to this conversation. We shared kind of pre-go, the names in your book, and Les Brown and our mutual friend, Bob Proctor, and the things that kind of brought us to it. And so I'm excited to have this chat with you about mindset, because I think a lot of leaders look at mindset. Like when I first started hearing about mindset, I was CEO of a marketing company. Bob Proctor's company was one of my clients. I kept trying to figure out, who the hell is Bob Proctor? Why am I going to talk to Bob Proctor? And it was all about, I kept going, this mindset stuff is woo-woo. So when I first met him, I met him like this, all right, tell me about mindset.
For sure.
So I'm really interested in how you work with leaders and the intention behind your book to help people kind of understand mindset. And there's some premises I want to get into. I want to talk about primal states and power, and I want to talk about
that's some of the best stuff in the book, because we all.
It was good,
and that's also how you find your beliefs. We should start there, right? Like, because people are always looking for their limiting beliefs. I didn't know that what limiting beliefs were. I'd heard of them. I even gone to Tony Robbins events live, and I just wasn't able to get to them. I love Tony; he's done lots of good stuff in my life.
Yeah.
At his events, I couldn't get to my limiting beliefs. He has a whole section on it, and he's like, "All right, write down your limiting beliefs." And I'm like, "I'm not a detail person, right? Like a lot of men aren't." And I'm like, "I don't know what I don't know. Like, how do we find?" And he doesn't really have a discovery process in his event. I'm just kind of like, "All right, where do you struggle?"
Yeah.
And life was good for a long time, even though. For me, like I shared earlier, I was burning profitable businesses to the ground, businesses that were profitable. I just walked away from, and I was telling myself I was bored. I have ADD. I got to do something different. That's what I always told. That was a story I told myself. And the final business was a 7 profitable business that one ended with me losing money. It was profitable until it wasn't, but that I felt like was the universe telling me, hey, you weren't paying attention to the first 6, so let me take some big chunk of cash from you so I have your attention. And then once I look back, I realized I walked away from 6 profitable businesses. Like I could have sold lists, I could have sold the businesses, and I just walked away. And that led me on a 2-year discovery of figuring out what limiting beliefs are, and then the super deep limiting beliefs, because there's limiting beliefs that are pretty easy to change. I'll walk you through a framework in this call.
Yeah, I love to. Yeah.
But the limiting belief that's messing with your life the most generally comes up between the ages of 35 and 55. And it's this super deep, what I call your core limiting belief. And it generally, it's a marriage of your parents' limiting beliefs, right? So if you're raised by your parents or whoever your primary influence was growing up,
right?
But let's just say it was your parents. It's a marriage of your parents' limiting beliefs. And here's the kicker, which I didn't like. This was a I went on a 2-year discovery path, and it led me to this towards the end of the 2 years. Is that the reason it's so hard to let go of? It's tied down. It's like anchored in you with resentment. And so until you figure out what the resentment is, usually it's for your parents also. And you could love your parents today and have a great relationship with them today, but still holds resentment from how you grew up from before you were 8 years old. So this gets super deep. But so here's what's great about this is neuroscience backs this up now. It's not woo-woo anymore, right? This stuff is, and I used to think it was also, but it's no longer woo-woo. Neuroscience backs up all of this. And so letting go of resentment, because holding on to a resentment, because people are like, well, I don't want to they don't deserve it. Well, you're right. But holding on to a resentment is like eating poison and expecting the other person to die. It only hurts you. You're not letting go of resentment for them. You're letting go of it for you.
Right.
Like so that's really hard for people to process. And so once you figure this out, like the world opens up. Like I see guys, I mean, like in my work, I see grown men cry all the time because like they have this epiphany during the conversation and they're like, holy shit, like, I see them like their eyes go up every time. Like they're like, I'm like, oh, here it comes, because they realize like, oh, I do have a resentment against my dad. I do have a resentment against my mom, who I love today. Right. Like it's not about not loving your parents. So that's the journey. And so we started with powerful and primal states. And so your primal states are your states where you're not happy, you're stressed out, you're angry, you have anxiety, you're uncomfortable, like all the states where you don't feel good, right? And then powerful is where you do feel good, confident, you're resourceful, like all your powerful states are good feeling states. And the name of the game is switching from primal to powerful instantly and doing it automatically. But we don't. We live a lot of times in primal, and not only do we live in primal, we assign meanings to things. Like stuff happens to us, like shitty stuff, crappy stuff, right? We assign meanings that don't serve us, right? Like so why do we assign like why would we assign anything a meaning in our life that doesn't serve us? Think about that. How crazy is that, Doland? Like, why would we do that? We do it all the time, though. Like we assign meaning, like, oh, this happened to me, it's negative, and I'm going to keep it negative, and I'm going to make it, become part of my personality. It's crazy,
right?
So the point is that like we control all this. Like our beliefs, our decisions we made to believe that years ago, right? So this goes back to all before we were 8. Our brains are in theta, right? Where they just are accepting. So let's just say our parents were the primary influence, right? Whatever they say, even if we hear fights that they're having, right? They don't know we're hearing them. We could be too. We don't consciously remember that today, but our subconscious remembers everything. And we know that from like NLP and, hypnosis, not like, stage hypnosis, quack like a chicken, legit real hypnosis. They can go back to when you were, not even a year old and bring up memories. You remember everything, not consciously, but it's all stored in there. So when you hear your parents fighting about money, which was my issue, like money was, we were really poor growing up until I was about 7. And money was always a problem. And then all of a sudden money wasn't a problem. We actually started making a pretty good amount of money. And we went from being, basically homeless to having, my dad owning multiple gas stations and real estate office. And now, but my parents still thought about money. But now having money is a problem. So for me, my 7-year-old brain decided money causes problems. Money's never good. When you're poor, money's not good. When you have money and you're rich, money's not good. And then my parents got divorced when I was 12 because they weren't meant to be. The money was not the issue. Their incompatibility was. When they met, they were both heavy drinkers. They both quit when I was like 3 or 4. But the only thing they had in common was alcohol. But their fights never stopped for 12 years. So all I knew was fights. So that's why I burnt the businesses to the ground. They were profitable because I've been married 20 years. I have 2 amazing kids. And every time my business got to it was about 500,000 in profit or revenue, that I was like, I just was not conscious, but my subconscious was like, oh, you're about to start fighting with your wife and break up your family. You better run. And so I burned it I just walked away. I could have sold the business. I could have sold lists I made from the businesses. I did none of that because that money would have, what I believed at the time, that money, if I did sell the business and bring more money in, then it would have caused me to start fighting with my wife and breaking up my family, which I did not want to do. So it's crazy. It's like looking back, I'm like, well, was I a crazy person? But that's how strong these beliefs are.
Yeah, it's so interesting you talk about that because I think there's a, and I want to kind of get into the framework on how to shift from, because there's a lot of leaders that I work with. This is, that don't know themselves, right? So they're not addressing those inner demons, and that's That's a battle. I went similar, right? I called it my glass ceiling. I could see through it and I knew, but I could never figure out, why can I get from here into this place where I really want to be? What's stopping me from being there? So when you're working, and there's this whole perception of mindset. Mindset's woo-woo. But if I'm going to lead a company, it's all about, the how, why, strategy, vision, tactics. I'm going to go get that, and I'm going to build a team. And if my team can't deliver it, I'm going to find a team that can. When really, it's the inverse of that. So when you're working with someone, how do you kind of help them shift that? Bob always called it paradigms, right? Les calls them paradigms. How does that shift from that mindset?
So first, it's starting to really pay attention to your thoughts, right? Because your thoughts create everything, and we don't control our thoughts, right? Our thoughts aren't ours. That's why you have so many thoughts you don't like, is because they're not yours, right? You're observing thoughts that are coming in, and that's a whole nother story. That's for another time. But what I have people start doing, this is very powerful. So if you're listening, pay attention and write this one down. You start labeling thoughts as thoughts and facts as facts in your head. This is not anything you have to write down or do. Just as a thought comes in, you be like, I don't like that thought. I don't believe that. That's not what I and so just like the power of repetition, and to change a habit, sometimes you have those thoughts 6, 7, 8, 10, 30 times a day, right? So if you override that, once you override it 20 or 30 times, then your subconscious starts being like, oh, this is not a thought. I can override this automatically. And that's the start of change. Now there's more stuff. There's more ways to embed it. We'll go through the decision director during this call. It's a framework. You can just draw 2 lines on a piece of paper. So we'll do that. And that's really to switch your limiting beliefs once you know what they are. And we'll talk again about how to find your limiting beliefs, which is primal. Every time you go primal, so we talk about primal and powerful states. Every time you go primal, there's a limiting belief buried there. The story you're telling yourself is about a belief you have about the situation. That's all it is. And you could change the story you tell yourself if you want to. But if you believe that to be true, because it's in your subconscious, like your automatic story, then you're going to keep going primal when that thing happens. But that's what the decision director will do. You'd be like, the old belief is, it could be just as simple as, like, let's just say you're about money. I'm not good with money. Well, then the new empowering decision is, I am good with money. And then the third column, what you're going to write is the evidence of it. Like, I save money. I'm good with, there's all, in everything. In every situation, there's good if you're looking for it. And in every situation, there's bad if you're looking for that. So you'll get whatever you're looking for, no matter what. Both are always available. So, but labeling thoughts and facts as facts is so powerful. Like, if that's all you take away from this call today, it will change your life. Because, like, when you get those thoughts that are messed up. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I really like that, Jim, because I think we lose track of, I was talking to a friend the other day, and we were talking about the number of thoughts that we have in a day, and the number just eludes me. But it's tens of thousands, 40,000, 60,000. There's thoughts constantly.
It's like 80,000, but yeah.
Somewhere around there.
Constant.
At my age, at 72, I tend to have less thoughts and more naps.
Come on.
More naps. But as you're talking about that, I really, really like, and to your point, for those listening to the podcast, hit that 30-second rewind button, go back and listen to that, because that's a very powerful statement around the difference between thinking about what's a thought and what's a fact. If you believe it to be a fact, then you're creating that outcome.
You'll create that reality, right? Our thoughts create a reality.
That's the outcome that gets
fact that our thoughts create
reality. Yeah, and it goes on. So when let's maybe it's a great time to kind of talk about, that exercise with the paper and with the, putting the columns on there. Let's spend a couple of minutes in there, because I love one of the great things about the book is it's not a theoretical. There's theory about mindset there, but it is that ability to take the content of the book and apply it, and apply what. Not have to. I remind people all the time, we're adults. We're not in school anymore. Because we're not in school anymore, we don't have to read chapter 1 to chapter 9. We can pick the pieces out that matter to us the most.
For sure.
in that moment. And there's components in the book that I think are extremely helpful. And one of them is around decisions.
Yeah. And the best way to find your limiting beliefs is, like I said, when every time you go primal, you get stressed out, angry, anxiety, anytime you're uncomfortable, that there is a limiting belief barrier there. Pay attention to your thoughts.
Yeah.
Right. As soon as you get angry, what are you saying? As soon as you get stressed out, what are you saying? It's all in your head, but what are you saying?
Right.
And write it down. Start writing down those thoughts, because your limiting belief is buried in there. That's a belief you have that's limiting your life that started before you were 8 years old. So this is not. So think about this. The thoughts or the beliefs that you have that are screwing up your life as an adult, you decided to believe with a 5-year-old's mind. Like, think about that for a minute. Like you decide, I'm going to believe this thing.
Right.
And it could have been from a fight you heard your parents having where they were saying stuff that they didn't even mean, right? But you heard that and you took it to be true. Or say your sibling was good at school and you weren't, and your mom was praising your sibling over and over for getting good grades, and she just didn't say anything to you because you didn't get good. You gave it meaning to that you're stupid, right? That you're not smart, that you can't do things.
Yeah.
And so that's just your 7-year-old mind doing that. So
right.
You decided to believe it then. You could decide to believe something new now. And here's the best way, because you have to install it into your subconscious. And here's the best way to do it. I call it the decision director. If you take a sheet of paper, draw 2 lines down the middle to make 3 columns. In the far left column, you're going to write the old limiting belief, like, I'm not smart, I'm not good in school, I can't get ahead, whatever it is, I'm not good with money. It doesn't matter. You can have 10 of them because we have lots. Sure. And so that's the first column is your old limiting belief. The center column is a new empowering decision. And you don't have to overthink this. It could just be the opposite, right? Like, I'm not good in school. I am good in school. I am good with money. I am confident. Like, it could be deeper than that, but you don't, just as you're figuring this out, it could just be the opposite. Don't overthink it. And then the third column is evidence of that new decision. So you have a new empowering decision in the middle. I'm good with money. I'm smart. I can read well. I can, whatever it is. And then in the last column is the evidence of that decision. And that's what locks it in for good. That's what shows your subconscious, I am good with money. Because if you look for good, if you look for things that you've done that are positive, they're all over the place. We get addicted to negative emotions. This is we could have a 3-hour call on this alone, but we get addicted to negative emotions, even though it's what we don't want, because it's comfortable and it's familiar and it's what we've known forever. So why do you go to these, like, well, why would I do that? Because we get addicted to it. Like, that's just how our human body operating suits work. And but when you're looking for the evidence, you're going to find it. And then here's how you lock it into your subconscious. So you have 3 columns, but then you take the second and the third column and you take the voice notes on your phone and you record whatever your new empowering decision is and the evidence. And so now it's in your voice. And then you listen to that 3 times a day, ideally first thing in the morning, right before you go to bed, and at some point in the middle of the day. And then what that does is it has your voice programming your subconscious. And it happens so much faster. For me, mine was with money. So I listened to that. I listened to my own voice about that I am good with money, that it's not going to burn my family to the ground. Like, I love my wife. We don't fight. We have a great relationship. This is not going to break up. But I had to prove to my subconscious that money doesn't cause problems. And also, even, like, this was the craziest thing for me, like, because I didn't like this goes back to super deep stuff from growing up, especially people who grew up poor.
Sure.
Like, you didn't have any access to wealthy people, right? Like our only access to wealthy people, like mine, was on TV.
Right.
Well, if you watch the TV shows like I watched growing up, MASH, Gilligan's Island, whatever, I'm 47. There's lots of other ones, and they're still present today. And by the way, like the same programming or concept is present today. But the people you liked in those shows were always living in scarcity and usually pretty poor and generally drank a lot. Right. It's crazy if you go back and look at it, but it's true. And then the people you didn't like were the wealthy people. They were the jerks. They did bad stuff to people. And so if your only access to people is on these TV shows and the rich people are kind of jerks, you're going to start growing where rich people are jerks. I used to see, I live in a really nice neighborhood, and I used to see, like, even as an adult, like, let's go back to my early 30s, even into my late 30s, I'd see a Range Rover or a Rolls Royce, and I'd be like, rich asshole. Like, that's automatic. I don't even know the guy. And all the wealthy people that I know, are incredibly gracious and generous people. Like they're great. Sure. But my subconscious didn't know that I felt that way yet, even though that was my experience as an adult. Wealthy people are generous and gracious people. My 7-year-old CEO, who was still calling the shots from my belief systems, didn't like rich people. So when I saw a wealthy guy, and so in here, I'm trying to get rich, right? I'm trying to create wealth for my family. And why did I keep running away from money? Well, because I didn't. Your subconscious is never going to let you be a person you don't like,
Right.
right? So now I see those cars, and the first thing that comes to mind, because I switched this, and I use the decision director framework to do that, is now I see, look at all the abundance in the world. Like when I see, like look at all the abundance everywhere, it's a completely different frame. Same situation, different frame. And so now every time I see like those cars, like look at all the abundance, bless that person, like that's automatic. Where before the rich a-hole was automatic. It's crazy what our belief systems do.
Yeah.
But that's how powerful changing your beliefs are. It's like that, and you'll see evidence of it, like because you think differently, you process information differently. Like we all see life through this 88% filtered reality, meaning we only see about 12% of what's actually happening around us in conscious reality because of our subconscious filters. Our belief system is what allows us to see this 12% only. So it's the craziest thing when you start removing these filters, you're like, I can't believe, like it's crazy when you start seeing differently. It literally, you see differently and you can never unsee it. It's the craziest and best thing that'll ever happen to you. And the frameworks are in the book to do it. That's what the book is. It's a book of frameworks. That's why it's only 66 pages. And of course I had to give some context for everything. But it's mostly frameworks.
Sure.
There's frameworks for letting go of resentments, finding the resentments, for letting go of beliefs, for resetting beliefs. It's all frameworks in that book. That's what it is. I wrote it for my clients, and then I ended up wanting to give it to the world, and so I published the book.
Yeah, I love that. It's a great read, and it's one of those. Here we'll do the. Let's see how quickly I can get into my. There we go. It's right there. Right there on the Kindle, right in that spot. So, bam. But it's one of those, it's bam. I would recommend to those listening to the podcast, pick the book up and read through this. There's one of the things I think that's very, very important that I really liked about the book. To your point, Jim, is the fact that it's a set of frameworks. When you're working with mindset's not I'm going to start at A and go to Z. Mindset is I'm going to start A, I'm going to go to F. Now I got to go all the way to M. Now I got to go back to C. Now I got to go to R. And I got to go.
100%.
There's
no linear path for anybody because we're all different. Nobody has the same path. That's why you can't compare yourself to anybody. Nobody has had the same path. Nobody, not even siblings. Siblings have similar paths, but not the same.
No way. It's completely impossible. So one of the things that just kind of we were talking a little bit. I was making a couple of notes as you were talking. One of the things, and I love the concept of the conversation in the book and here around affirmations, right? But there's a biblical context to it when we have an I am state. I am when we proclaim who we are.
Just like Jesus said to Moses, I am that I am. It's very powerful. When you understand that statement, it is so incredibly powerful. We don't have time to even get into that today, but man, it's a powerful statement.
No, next episode. Next time we got a bunch of sequences that we can do. But from that perspective, I think there's one thing I would kind of like, because in what you're talking about may be new to some listeners, right? Matter of fact, it's probably new to a bunch of listeners.
Most.
This concept about setting who I am today, right? How do I what is my day going to be like, making that decision, and who am I going to be, and having an I am statement. And it's sometimes different every day. It's different. It's different for me every day.
Well, and you got to be so careful with the I am statement because people say all the time, I am not, right? I am not the kind of person that, right? I am not. And what that is our thoughts and our words are not neutral. They're commands to our subconscious.
Yes.
You have to be very careful with what you say. I am, because your subconscious believes that to be true, no matter what it is. If you say it over and over and over again, you will take action to make that true, no matter what it is, even if it's not true.
Yeah, very much so. So I think one of the things that maybe we extend it just a little bit. I think there's a point where you have affirmation. There's a there's a myth that kind of came around back in the days of the book The Secret and the movie The Secret, right? If I think it's going to happen, I'm going to manifest it, and manna is going to fall from the sky.
Yeah, and what the secret really leaves out is the action part.
That's where I was going to head. Is so Bob, talking about Bob Proctor. Bob Proctor would always tell me, if all else fails, go to work. Just do the job. So when you're working with people on this, right? How do you and they have their I am, right? So I am better with money. I am whatever it is that they're working towards that for them personally. How do you help that? How does that get transposed from affirmation to action? Because it's one thing to affirm and another thing to take an action on it.
Well, so affirmations are a funny thing. Like they're a huge part of personal development and a huge part of mindset reset. But affirmations too early in the which is what a lot of guys are, just say affirmations. Well, here's the problem with doing that too early in the process. Is just saying affirmation like I'm abundant, right? But if the energetic signal you actually have is scarcity, like you look at your bank account and you're like, oh my God, like you should be able to look at your bank account right no matter what it is and be like, I am so incredibly grateful. Just like how we opened up this call. Like I'm grateful for my bank account the way it is because it's giving me an opportunity to do X, Y, Z, or whatever the next level is, or to be right here because I was meant for this moment so I can become a better person from this moment on. But when you're saying affirmations too early, they're useless, right? Like you have to be at the right frame of mind and the right mindset to start the affirmation. And this is where it does seem to get woo woo, like I say, your energetic signal. But if you're really living in scarcity, if you have a scarcity mindset from how you grew up, like I did, if that's your true signature, no affirmation is going to override that until you do like the decision director. And what a lot of times like mine, the core limiting belief, right? So you have these surface level limiting beliefs, which the decision director that I just explained will help you get rid of. But your core limiting belief, this is the one that's causing the biggest problems in your life, is always tied to resentment. And so this is where it gets super deep. And like most people, especially men, are like, what now? Like, I don't want to deal with resentment, but it is the part that will free you for the rest of your life by letting go. Because the holding on to resentment is like eating poison and expecting the other person to die. And people, they're always like, I'm not going to forgive them. They did X, Y, Z to me. And I'm like, I fully get it, but you're not letting them off the hook for them. It's for you because it's causing problems in your life. And when you go through the resentment, and I can walk through the resentment framework now because that's in the book, but it's super easy. But finding your resentments, and you do a resentment inventory. That's part of what I work with people one-on-one. And part of what we do is that there's a framework to go this is not in the book because the book, this would overwhelm people, but a resentments inventory, right? Like let's get them all on paper. Let's find them. Let's discover them. And then let's let them go one by one. Cause on top of resentments that you hold towards usually your parents, if that's who raised you, we all, especially achievers, which that's who are listening to this call, all hold resentments against ourselves for not doing more sooner. I mean, I could give you a whole list of resentments we all hold against ourselves. Yeah. So you have to let yourself go from those resentments too. So it's not just, it's resentments against, usually your parents. And then you also hold resentments against yourself. And the framework's super easy for that. Like it's in the book, but you name it, the resentment. You got to feel the resentment. Number 2, like literally sit there and feel the pain just for like 5 minutes, but it's important to feel it because you're about to release it and let it go, but you've been blocking it for years, like just not dealing with it, like just pushing it away. Right. And it's only gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, by the way. If you deal with it right away, it's gone and it doesn't bother you anymore. But when you push it away, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So you name it, you feel it, and you do a cost benefit analysis on it. Is there any benefit to me holding on to this? And of course there's not, but this is how you reprogram your subconscious by physically, by asking yourself the question, well, what's the benefit? Well, there isn't one. Like it's actually harming my life. Okay. Well, then we let it go. Then, the next one is you reframe it, assign a meaning to it that serves you. Like why we assign meaning to things that don't serve us is the craziest thing. Like no matter what it is, however bad it is, a death of a kid, like the worst stuff that could happen. Like if you assign a negative meaning to it, it's going to haunt you for the rest of your life and it's going to cause issues for the rest of your life. And it's going to affect your personality and your personal reality. All that's going to be affected. But if you can find the good in everything, which you can, there's good in everything if you're looking for it. If
Sure.
you assign a meaning to it that serves you, everything changes. And then the next step, the last step, is letting it go. And I literally, like, when I was figuring this out for myself, and I still do this today, like when I figure, like, a new resentment comes up, like, it's not like I'm some perfect thing that, not, like, I got issues too. These stuff doesn't stop coming at you. That's the thing, is it's not like this is a one and done.
Right.
My book is a toolkit that I still go back to. And I'm like, oh yeah, because it's like, I need a reminder sometimes, because if I have a rough day or something, happens, or, sometimes you get stressed, something new comes up, right? Like, and it's like, all right, you got to deal with this new thing, but then you got to let it go. So literally I sit there like this, take a deep breath and let it go. Like, so in like I literally move my hands like this, because for me, that's showing me and my subconscious, let it pass through. And here's, Dolan, here's the craziest thing. We talk about resisting, the things you don't want getting bigger and bigger. Well, here's another thing that messes with you. Clinging to the things you like, right? You're like, wait, what? I can't cling. No, you got to let that, just experience it, let it pass through. Because here's what happens. This is a perfect example.
Yeah.
You go to the beach for the first time.
Right.
You see the best sunset you've ever seen. Oh my God, this is incredible. Like, oh, I'm gonna hold on to the sun. I don't ever want to let it go. I can't wait to go back to that sunset. And then what happens the next time you go to the beach?
Yeah. No.
And now you're let down on something you like.
Yeah.
You're stressed. You go primal on something you liked. Like how? So if you just the first time you just like,
wow,
amazing. I can't wait to see it the next time, no matter what it is. And look at the second time. This is different, but it's even better because you didn't cling on to the first one. Yeah. So we work with ourselves by clinging on. And that is, if you ever, Michael Singer, the surrender experiment, he's a very fascinating individual. Like he has like an eight part video course that I highly recommend, but he's got the Untethered Soul is one of his books, and the surrender experiment. He's the one that taught me how to surrender. Like, I didn't fully get it ever. I wanted to, until I read his books and went through his course, and all of a sudden I was like it just clicked. But he's where I learned that clinging and resisting. And I always heard resisting, right, gets bigger and bigger, but nobody talks about the clinging to what you like part, because that's just as bad.
That's really interesting. That's very true. That is a conversation that does not take place.
I know, ever.
And it goes exactly the way you think. You see that gorgeous sunset. I live a mile from the Pacific Ocean, right? So I go to the ocean. My wife and I, Linda, we see this beautiful sunset, and it's like, oh, this is great. The sky's 9 million colors. And the next time you go, it's overcast and there's fog and no sun.
And you're let down.
And
right?
it's like, oh my God.
You can find beauty in that too if you wanted to. Like, oh, look at how cool. Look at the clouds. Look at the clouds. Yes. Like you can find beauty in that, but you can't if you're clinging on to that thing you saw last time that you loved so much. It's not there anymore. All that's going to do is send you to a primal state, which is just, it doesn't do you any good. You're giving it a bad meaning.
Yeah, that's
crazy. It's crazy. Really... I went on this journey I did not expect to go on. Like, it was like one thing after another that I was like epiphany after epiphany. I thought it was gonna be a month or two. It was 2 years, and it was the best thing I ever did. Like, I was fortunate I was in a position to do it, but it's not like I was rolling. I had just lost most of the money I had. So I invested in myself to keep this going, because I could tell I was onto something. I finally had got to the thought leaders and got to like people like, Tony Robbins is incredible, like Joe Dispenza and Dr. Bruce Lipton, if you know Bruce Lipton, incredible stuff. Bob Proctor, David Baer is incredible. He's got a Change Mind podcast. Guy is like, he breaks down these complex stuff into so relatable and digestible. It's incredible. Yes. But here's the best stuff I found, by the way, was from like the turn of the century, like the early 1900s, like Charles Haanel. Charles Haanel wrote the Master Key System. He was Napoleon Hill's one of his mentors. Yes. And if you read Think and Grow Rich, which most people, you should read it 4 times, by the way.
You should. That sitting right next to my hand right here.
But have you read Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill?
I actually just started it.
It is one of my top 3 books of all time, because if you read Napoleon, you could Think and Grow Rich, you can kind of be like, oh, well, he had Andrew Carnegie and he had all this opportunity that I did, and you could tell yourself a story that doesn't serve you, right? However, then you read and by the way, Outwitting the Devil was written 1 year after Think and Grow Rich was published in 1938. Yeah. It was Think and Grow Rich was 1937. He wrote it in 1938. It didn't get published till 2011
Right.
because he has take on church, state, and schools that are very controversial. But I will tell you, they are. It's for that time in history that he wrote it.
Yeah.
It's incredible for how spot on it is even today. It's crazy.
Yeah.
One of my best books, but it put everything in perspective because his journey, why he was writing that book, Think and Grow Rich, he went bankrupt. He lost a 700-acre farm. I mean, lots of bad stuff happened in his life. It was not an easy journey. It was actually very difficult. He had lots of reasons to give up and not do the book anymore.
Right.
And he still pushed on because he met guys like Andrew Carnegie that installed the right mindset. But it was still, he had money issues. And so it's incredible. But the best stuff, one of the best books I've ever read is The Master Key System by Charles Hannell that was published in 1908.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I know there were. Anyway, we could get into.
Goddard, Neville, too. I give credit where credit's due. Like, this is not me. It's not like my book's like not like look at me. It's like look what I found from history, and this is what worked for me. And there's a good chance it'll work for you too, because I didn't know the issues that I had, and I distilled all these frameworks from different sources. But here's the best stuff that I found that worked for me, and give it a shot because it's a good chance it could work for you too.
That's so important. So again, listeners, hit the go back button about 20 seconds because I think it's easy for us to get hung up on the fact that I've got a framework and I'm going to take a framework from this, and I've had this mistake as CEO of a company, and I took a framework and thought, I'm going to overlay this framework on my company, and I blew it up. One of the things that when I'm working with, this is about you, not about me, but when I'm working with my clients and their businesses, it's about there's the best parts of frameworks that are frameworks and systems that apply to where you are today in your business. It's kind of like with mindset. We talk about going from A to M to R to C to G. There's not a linear path in this, and to go back and to be humble enough to tip of the hat to you to go back and look at the content from these people from turn of the century, from Think and Grow Rich, Outwitting the Devil I'm co-reading it with a friend of mine right now, and Wallace Wattles, The Science of Getting Rich, and
that's another one. James Allen, As a Man Thinking, like all that stuff,
and
so powerful.
Yeah, all of that stuff that we bring to the table makes us better. So one of the things that maybe one of the kind of the last kind of topics here for at least this conversation today is
I'd love to talk to you. We could sound like we talk for hours, Doland. So we should definitely do this again.
We could. I would enjoy that. Jim would enjoy that a lot. So when there is work that we do with mindset with ourselves, and then that work has to transcend to other people, and because I believe that there's no such thing as work-life balance. There is only life. Right? And work is a component of it, right? So mindset, the things that we have in our mind transcends into work, how we lead people, how we lead our family, our children, our lives. So as you're working with people, helping them understand mindset and taking them through the process that you take them through, how do you also then help them? There's two sides to it. There's one side that's going to be an interference. There's noise coming in, right? And then there's on this side over here, there's noise that comes from us out to others to help them as well. So how do you help them kind of through the balance of those two domains?
So we call it resistance, right? And so it's not about hustling and grinding harder. This is not about getting up at 5 a.m. It's not about, this is actually the opposite of that. Once you remove the resistance, and the resistance is limiting beliefs, it's resentments, it's your core program, and it's the feeling of not being enough, which we all have, right? Like even super successful people, like how do you think people lose $300 million? How do you think people bankrupt businesses that are worth $100 million? It happens all the time, right?
Right.
Like, how do you think that? Because their belief system, they obviously had enough intuition, enough smarts to build a business, but they always go back to not being enough. Not being enough. And so this is not about working harder. In fact, my work is the opposite of that. It's not working harder. It's removing the resistance that's getting in your way. It's like if you take a flowing river, right, and you throw a bunch of boulders in it, what's going to happen? It jams up, right? And so all we do is we start removing the boulders one by one until it flows. And there's a great there's a band called Need to Breathe, and they have a song called Banks. The lyrics, they're some of the best lyricists in the game. I absolutely love them. But what the lyric here is, I want to hold you close like the banks of a river. Basically saying like, hold you close but let you flow, right? And so it's so, I get chilled there. It's so powerful. But that's what we do is I create a flow, right? I remove the boulders. And so like everybody, even super successful, that's why I work with primarily successful entrepreneurs that have the house, the cars, they fly private, they have boat. But it doesn't matter because none of that stuff makes them happy. Like they got all this stuff and they're like, is this it? And so it's these belief patterns we all have that are either not being enough. It's usually most of these people, it's resentments that they haven't even processed and limiting beliefs, but their core limiting belief is what usually is messing with them, which is tied to a resentment. So we have to go through a process of figuring that out. It's an emotional process, and then it's like we remove, and then all of a sudden it's like the dam just flows, and it's incredible. It's like this weight gets lifted that they didn't know they had. I mean, they knew they were being held. The way I explain it is like, right. Do you feel like you're being, like physically held back, like, by some invisible force, like there's an invisible, like there's a wall that's physically holding, and so they're like, yes. I'm like, okay, I can help you. Because like, that's the feeling. It's like, you don't know. Like, right. And I didn't know, like I had to go on a journey to figure it out. Like, fortunately I was in a position where I could take 2 years off and figure this out because that's how I did it. Like at the beginning of the 2 years, for the first like 3 months, I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? I was overwhelmed. And then I just kept going and going and believing and believing and telling myself to write stories like, you'll figure it out. Yeah. Because we're all only as good as the stories we tell ourselves. Oh. Like, so we are all like, that's like, I'm going to repeat it because we're all only as good as the stories we tell ourselves. So when you tell yourself a story that you're not going to do it or you can't, guess what? You're not going to do it.
You're not going to, right.
If you're on the golf course and you're telling yourself you're going to miss the putt, of course you're going to miss the putt because your body's going to create the chemistry that helps you shoot it the wrong way. Right. Like if you tell yourself the right story, like I got this. It's not. This is not like fake it till you make it. Like that's not what this is about.
No. Yeah.
It's like belief in yourself. You have to be the person. Like if you're going to be worth $100 million, you have to be the person that's worth $100 million inside before you're ever going to be allowed to have that money in the outside. It's not an outside game. This is an inside game. Right. And until you're living like the person you want to be every day, no matter what, like even if your bank account sucks right now and you want to be worth $100 million, every decision you make, you say, would a person worth $100 million act like that? Would they do this? Your entire life will change when you do this.
Yeah.
And that's the only path there is to true wealth and true creation. Because if you just go, like how do we see all these guys lose $300 million? They're worth $300 million and then they go bankrupt. How do you think that is? Because they were never comfortable with the money. Well, they always go back to what their subconscious beliefs are, and that is being in scarcity, having no money. That's how they grew up. If they lived in projects or they grew up in scarcity, that's what they go back to because that's their comfort zone, even though it's not where they want to be, because they believe that's what's true for them.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I hadn't thought about this, forever and ever and ever. A young man, pre-gray hair, barely 30s. I'm blessed. I'm CEO of an international consultancy, right? I'm a technologist, or it's 32 years and blah, blah, blah in technology before I got to go do lots of other fun stuff. And the guy that was the founder of the company had $32 million. And over the course of a 2.5-year period, I watched him go from 32 million to zero.
He gave it away. He literally gave it away. And like making bad investments, that's what that giving it away means.
Just burned it. Yep. Just burned through it. Could have put it in the parking lot and set it on fire and got the same result.
Yeah.
And 100%. It's interesting. And it's one of those moments I always took forward in my life. Took me a long time, decades to figure it out. But it was that was really interesting to see this guy go from here to here in this period of time because of the way he was thinking about it.
Well, because he wasn't comfortable with the money, right? Like that's what it was. He
wasn't.
Yeah, 100%. That's the only reason you do that.
Not in the least. Not in the least. So I promised you we would go 30 minutes, and we're way out past it.
Yeah, we are way out. But this was a great call. Thank you. This is
Thank you.
fantastic.
No, I love it. I want to talk about a couple things first before we go. The first is I would love to have listeners reach out to you, work with you, because the work you're doing, we do good. Being a good leader means that we're doing good work in the world. Doing good work in the world means we're helping people improve their lives, do better things. There's
100%.
nothing more important than helping somebody originally from Alabama, redneck, or get their head screwed on right, get their mindset, get your, and there's a lot to it, and you need to work with an expert to do that. And trust me, listeners to the podcast, it is a challenge. It's almost impossible to do it by yourself. It's leading you can't do by yourself. Mindset you can't do by yourself. You have to have accountability
by yourself. It's a lonely road.
You can't. Yeah, you gotta. There's power in multiplicity.
And if you want to get somewhere faster, you gotta get somebody who's been down that road, right? You find a mentor that's been there where you want to go. And it takes the learning curve from 2 years, 3 years, 4 years to a month.
Right, down to that small. So tell me, let's just talk a little bit about, for those listening to the podcast, a little bit about you mentioned, the kind of people that you work with. So let's talk. I want to talk a little bit about the kind of clients that you like to work with, and then where, I'm going to, in the show notes, I'm going to have all the links to the book. I'm going to encourage people to go to Amazon, get the book, buy the
Mindset
book.
Breakthrough on Amazon. Just search Mindset Breakthrough. There's a couple other ones. They'll be lower, and they're not very. They were years ago. Mine's the first one that'll come up.
Yeah, just go get it. But I'm really, and search by you by an author. But I'll have a direct link to both in the show notes and in the guest directory. I'll have a direct link to the book.
Thank you.
So, but let's talk a little bit about the kind of people that you work with. We're not for everybody, right? So,
of course. Well, I'm very fast paced. I talk fast. I move fast. Like, this is just me. I'm always like this, and so you got to be able to keep with my speed. Of course, I slow it down during one-on-one coaching calls, but sure. I got a lot of energy, right? And so I'm very passionate about what I do. I'm passionate about helping people, and I work with who I was. Right? Like, I was an entrepreneur. Like, after I went down this journey, I'm like, well, do I go back into real estate? Because all my businesses were in real estate. I was a real estate entrepreneur, real estate investing, real estate agent, apartments, online product. I did all kinds of stuff in the real estate business. And like, do I go back into that? Which didn't, I was chasing money then, right? Like, that's all I was chasing was money. I wasn't trying to add value to the marketplace.
Right.
I wasn't trying to add value to people's lives. I was chasing money. And that was part of the problem too. If you're chasing money and only chasing money, it's a road to nowhere.
Yeah.
So I work with entrepreneurs. I work with entrepreneurs and and leaders. It can be CEOs and people that they've hit a wall. Like, they're successful on the outside, but they don't feel it on the inside. Like, because that was me. Like, I kept burning these businesses, and because I wasn't fulfilled, right? Like now I know that. I didn't know that then. And most people don't do what I did. They just stay in the same role, being unfulfilled. Like, is this it? Is this it? And they do it for 20 years, and they're like, is this it? And so I work with people that are, they have houses, they have multiple cars, they have boats, they have, fly private, whatever. And they're not happy. They're not fulfilled. Like, so it's not about the money, right? It's just about resetting the stories. It's about resetting your beliefs. Your beliefs are decisions, and you could make new ones. And so that's what I help people do. So they get my website. I know you have it there. It's Jim. My name is JimHuntzicker.com. It's JimHuntzicker.com. You can go to mindsetbreakthrough.com and get the book. That'll be in the show notes too. But I work one-on-one with people. I have a group program, but my primary focus is working one-on-one. I work with about anywhere from 15 to 18 people at once.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I would encourage you. So go to the show notes. Go look Jim up. Go to the website. Look at his content. Get the book. Apply the book. The book opens the door. One of my favorite things in the book, other than all of the things that we talked about here, is it opens the door to other sources. So use the book. Open the door to go experiment and get your and work on mindset. And there are days, there are good days and mindset days and days where you got to really work at it. So go get the book.
But once you learn the tools, it's easy to switch back to powerful. Like, it happens to all of us. Every day I go primal. Every day, right? So I'm not immune to it, but I just go like something bad happens, I live in it for 36, maybe 60 seconds, and I'm like, all right,
and bring it back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good.
I love it. A lot of good content, a lot of great insight. All right. So in closing, a couple of things. The very first thing is I'm going to close with gratitude again. There's 1,000 other places you could have been today, dude, and you spent time with me, helping me on my mission to empower 1 million leaders. And then the leaders that are listening to the podcast, helping them get some skills and have an opportunity to learn more. So just some gratitude for taking time for being here today.
For sure. When you have a vision, like I have a vision, my vision is to help 10 million people become better versions of themselves. When you have a true vision that you're aiming for, everything becomes easy. Everything, even the problems, are part of the vision.
It's what you do. Yeah. It's just part of it.
Yeah.
All right. Last two parts. For those of you listening to the podcast, please give the podcast a no, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, which is even more powerful. It's on all the platforms out there. So put the comments where you listen. Go where it's comfortable for you. Don't come to me. Go if you're an Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Go there. Do it there. Where you go. It is not about vanity numbers. What it is about is that when you do those things, it elevates the podcast so it's easier for people to find it. And the reason I want people to find it is if you learn something from today from Jim, I want people to be able to find Jim. And if you know another leader who is facing some of the challenges with mindset that Jim talked about today, or life, or kids, or all of the things that come into who we are as leaders, share this podcast with them and send them a note and say, hey, you got to listen to what Jim had to say today. Do that. We're all on the hook to make each other better and improve our lives. Jim, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. Great call.
Thanks for tuning in to the next interview show. If today's conversation gave you something to think about or something to act on, follow the show. And share this episode with a leader you know who's ready to step up, because empowered leadership isn't a solo sport.